But let's see. All right, a little bit about Ralph. Ralph Epperson is a historian, author, and lecturer who has been researching the conspiratorial view of history, the view that the major events of the past have been planned years in advance by a central conspiracy. For 40 years, he has written and produced 4 best-selling books: Unseen Hand, The New World Order, Masonry Conspiracy Against Christianity, Jesse James, United States Senator, 9 booklets, 12 videos, 2 DVDs. He is a graduate of the University of Arizona, but freely admits that what he has learned since graduation has taught him that the most of what he learned in college in history and political science simply is not true. He practices that his research has proven to him that there has been an archive conspiracy in the world planning major wars, depressions, and inflations years in advance. Many of those who have read his material and viewed his videos state that they are the best in the market on the subject. If you want to know how this conspiracy has operated in the world from one of the theory's best teachers and writers, you will want to obtain all of his materials. All right, so since we only have an hour, let's go ahead and get Ralph Epperson on there. Hello, Ralph. Are you there?
Yes, sir. I am indeed, Mike. Thank you very much.
All right. I thank you for being my first interview here at Cryptic Knowledge Radio.
Well, it's okay. It's 8 o'clock here in downtown Tucson this morning, so it's a little bit early, but that's okay. I'm ready.
Okay. I see. All right. What inspired you to get into this research that you're in?
Well, I moved from Arizona, where I went to got to graduation from college, and went to California for my first job, and I didn't know anything about California politics, so I joined the Young Republicans. And I met a young man who, also a college graduate, but had been in the group for some time before me, and he said, "You've got to start reading, Ralph." And I said, "I don't want to read." He said, "Yes, you've got to read revisionist history." And I said, "What is that?" He said, "That's my point. You don't know, do you?" I said, "I don't have any idea what you're talking about." So I started reading, and I haven't stopped since. I'm still reading, although not with such fervor as I had for the last 40 years, because I've now been able to prove from their own literature there's an actual conspiracy at work in America, no question. I'm no longer called a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy realist. This thing is real. It's happening right now in front of us, and that's why I write books and do talk shows and do seminars, lectures, whatever I can.
Yes. Who are the global elite who are controlling and manipulating our governments in the economy?
Well, of course, by definition, this is I'm sorry, let's start this way. This is a conspiracy, and by definition, they operate in secret, so they're not going to tell us with only a few exceptions. There are some. Every once in a while, you'll find people who admit it, like David Rockefeller in his biography made that comment back in the back of the book that he was a conspirator and proud of it. But very rare, it's not very common. But you don't need to know who they are to know there's a conspiracy. And the greatest proof of that is in the Kennedy assassination. President Kennedy was assassinated in 1963. That's over 40-some years ago. 80% of the last poll I saw was 80% of the American people believe there was a conspiracy, but no one knows who did it. But we can know there's a conspiracy. Once we know that, then we can protect our presidents. So it is possible to know there's a conspiracy without knowing who they are. There are clues that the Masonic Lodge is directly involved, the New Age religion, Council on Foreign Relations, you name it. There's a bunch of groups, but that's only down at the bottom. There are layers above that we're still investigating.
Yes, sir. One of the questions that's always been on my mind is the CFR, which is Foreign Relations for those who don't know what it is, and the Trilateral Commission, the Bilderberg Group, and many other secret societies out there, including the Freemasons. Are they all on the same team? Are they all working for one agenda, one goal, which is New World Order?
That's right.
Can you elaborate
by
on
the
that?
way, say it again?
Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, understand this. The best example I can use is the back of our dollar bill. There's a pyramid on the back of our dollar bill. No one knows why. Well, I know why, and the Masons know why because they designed it. But that also is symbolic of this conspiracy. The lower layer blocks are bigger and more easily defined, and we can define who they are. The CFR, Carlisle Commission, and the Bilderbergers, and some of the Skull and Bones, some of the others. But as you go up the side of the pyramid, it's more secret, and the more secret it is, the more difficult it is to find it. But I've gone up beyond the CFR, Carlisle Commission, into those groups that are even more secret, but you can find out about it. That's why I use the Masonic Lodge. The Worldwide Freemasonry Organization puts it in writing what they believe in, and therefore you can use it. It's documented. And that's why I use the Masons. They are directly involved in America, directly involved in setting this nation up, directly involved in the assassination of President John Kennedy, you name it. They've been involved and are major players in our past. For instance, there are something like 15 of our presidents have been members of the Masonic Lodge. That's about 1 in every 3.
Yes, sir. What connection does Freemasons have with Egypt, sir?
Oh, it's just their story is they based their rituals on the Solomon's Temple, which was built in Israel. The Egyptian pyramids are connected because the pyramid on the back of our dollar bill is symbolic of the Great Pyramid of Giza outside of Cairo, Egypt. And that pyramid, the one that's more commonly discussed because there's passageways inside, that one, it was never built as a tomb. It was built as a temple of initiation into what they call the ancient mystery religion of Babylon. And it was never built as a tomb for the Pharaoh and his wife. It's used as a temple, and that's why it's on the back of our dollar bill. And it's also going to be the house of the leader of the worldwide world after in the future, someday in the future. It was supposed to happen on the 1st of January of the year 2000. It didn't happen, and I believe it was because we exposed them, but I don't know when it's going to happen now. But when that eye above the pyramid lands on the pyramid, we will have started the New World Order, which is what our founding fathers committed us to. The Latin phrase on the back of the dollar bill, annuit septus, means annuit, announcing, or the announcement of. Septus, root word for the conception, announcing the birth of or the conception of the New World Order, Novus Ordo Seclorum. So this nation's going someplace, and I know what it is, and I'm trying to make it public so we can prevent it.
You know, that's kind of leading up to one of the questions I'm about to ask is about, like, in your research, that the year 2000 was supposed to be the top of the pinnacle in the New World Order, and it's supposed to be here already. But do you think that the league need another major false flag event like a 9/11 to put a stamp on the New World Order?
Well, I cannot tell you why it didn't happen, but I believe it was cast in concrete 6,000 years ago. Now it's 6,010 years ago. In other words, it was supposed to happen. The Y2K thing was only a scare about the computers not being able to record the year 2000 instead of 1999 plus the next year. So we were all panic-stricken by that, but there were actually plans to bring the New World Order in, and those were made 6,000 years ago. And I don't know why it didn't happen. I started exposing that date in 1985, 15 years before it started. Why? Because I was able to find their trackings in my research. I found the evidence that that's what they were, when they were going to plan the New World Order being no longer a birth of, but an actual event or an actual adult. And I started identifying it in lectures and seminars and talk shows and even in my books way back before it happened. And when it was supposed to happen, it didn't, and I cannot tell you why.
What year did you start this research?
Well, I started back in about 1962 or so, and yeah, it's approximately then. I read my first book called None Dare Call It Treason. That was the one, this young man, Jim, who was the one who said, you got to read revisionist history. when I read that book, I realized that man, that author, was right. And that book sold something like 2 or 3 million copies. It was a nationwide bestseller. In fact, you can even find copies of it in used bookstores once in a while. I would urge you, if anyone finds one, get a copy and read it, because the man was right. And that got me started. But I want to say this, it was very preliminary in those days. We didn't know much more than what he indicated. So I decided to keep researching, and in '85, which is 20-some years later, I published my first book, The Unseen Hand. And that book was more thorough than the book in about 62 or 61. But even then, we still didn't know a great deal. We still had to find out more, and that's why I've written 3 books since then.
Yes, sir. I don't mean to get off the subject here, but one of our listeners was wanting to know, can you give a few books that you believe that they need to start reading to help guide them along this path of just trying to expose the New World Order and this secret group?
Well, of course, I'm the guy that wrote it, but if you go to Google Video, not Google, if you go to Amazon.com and type in The Unseen Hand, and then the list of all the books with that title will show up. And look for the one by Ralph Epperson. It's usually first. And read the reviews. The last time I was there, which was maybe a month or so ago, there are 46 4- and 5-star reviews out of 50, which means only 4 people didn't like it, and they gave me either a 1 or a 2-star. But 46 people out of the 50 said it was a 4-star or even a 5-star book. And I'll be honest with you, the book was published in '85. It's still selling. It's 25 years ago now. It's still selling. I'm going to reprint it again here for like the 20th sometime. It's still, I believe, the classic. So anyone that wants to know what's going on in this country needs to read The Unseen Hand. Start with that. It's an easy book to read, although it's not very pleasant, because you're going to learn that what we've been taught as history is not history. It's a lie. I'll give you, like, for instance, the Civil War happened, but not for the reasons we were told. World War II happened, but not for the reasons we were told. And once you start to see the evidence of their involvement in our past, you'll agree with me that it's an introduction to the conspiratorial view of history. Then I would suggest you read my second book, The New World Order, to learn where we're going. Why is this nation experiencing these tragic events like bailouts and wars and revolutions and riots and inflations and everything else? It's all happening by design. There's no question about it. It's a matter of proof. This nation is being taken someplace, and Obama's job is to deliver. That's where we are.
What is their main agenda for creating wars, dumbing down its citizens, and creating depressions?
Well, the first thing is to, of course, gain more power in government, but that's what they're doing, and also to replace the middle class. I cover in my book, The Unseen Hand, I cover the 3 major communist revolutions. First of all, the Russian Revolution of 1917, the Chinese Revolution of 23 to 49, and then Cuba in about 62 or 3, something like that. So all 3 of those events, all 3 of those revolutions were created by the very wealthy to eliminate the middle class in Russia, China, and Cuba. That's what communism is. It's a move by the very wealthy to eliminate the middle class, so that they end up with two classes, the very wealthy and everybody else. And that's exactly what happened. And it's all covered in The Unseen Hand to show you that our government was directly involved in all 3 of those revolutions. Our government allowed American businessmen to finance Nikolai Lenin, the communist, in Russia. We funded, not we, people didn't do it, but certain Americans and English people and Europeans funded to the tune of millions of dollars. They bought a revolution. And after the revolution was over and killed 30 million people, they took over and ended up with the ownership of the factories of production. In China, our government made certain that the Chinese communists like Zhou Enlai and Mao Tse-tung were victorious over Chiang Kai-shek. Our government wanted that country to go communist. It's all covered in the unseen hand. Same thing in Cuba. Cuba was a prosperous Latin American country until Fidel Castro took over. Our government put Castro into power. We've ensured that he will not be replaced by Americans or even Cubans. I was involved with in the periphery of the young people who were buying ships, boats, small boats, and guns and training to replace Castro in the 60s. I was in the Young Republicans, and many of those young people came to us for help and assistance and comfort and support, and they were later, their weapons were confiscated, their boats were confiscated, and they were sent back to the United States with nothing. And so we got to know them. We got to know their story firsthand. Our government wanted Castro into power, and we put him there. So that, to me, says no middle class, and that's what's happening in Cuba today.
About the middle class, why would they want to replace the middle class? Like, what purpose?
Well,
go ahead, sir.
See, the very wealthy love to own everything, and they were able to do that with the rise of industrialism. But then, conversely, Karl Marx called the middle class bourgeoisie. They were that the ruling class had to eliminate the bourgeoisie, and here's why. They were moving up on the side of the mountain and competing against the very wealthy. Once you start having prosperity, there's a rising middle class, and the rising middle class starts owning factories and railroads and buildings, etc. And when they do that, they're competition to the very wealthy. The wealthy like to charge more than with the going rate, and when the middle class comes up, they reduce the prices. So this is all discussed in the unseen hand to show you that communism is the ultimate form of capitalism. It's monopolistic capitalism, where the very wealthy own the factors of production. That's what Obama's doing right now. Obama's in the midst of converting America into a monopolistic capitalistic system where the government will run these factories, etc., and the major industries. And when it does, it's going to be the American capitalists doing it, and then hiring the government officials to run it for them under the name of the ownership, the government owning it, but not. They're going to own the factories as well. And that's where we are. That's what's happening in America today. The middle class has got to be destroyed, and that's exactly what's happening.
I think you explained it really, really well, a lot better than anybody else out there. But speaking of Obama, do you think he will get another term?
Well, I don't know. It's all anything. It's speculation, but it doesn't look like it. It looks like the American people. In fact, I want to say this. In 40-some years of doing this research, I've never been as optimistic that we were going to save this country from the New World Order. I'm not optimistic we're going to do it. I'm optimistic that there's finally some signs that the American people are waking up. They're starting to say no to big government. This government is $12 trillion in debt. $1 trillion. When Reagan was in office, he raised it to the first $1 trillion ever. And when he did, that was a scandal. $1 trillion in the 80s, and now it's over $12 trillion. How are we going to pay that back? No one's asking that question. Very few are, let's do it that way. But how are we going to pay it back? We have to sell everything we've got to pay it back. Why? When you borrow money from the international bankers and create the national debt, they want the money back at interest. So it's not only $12 trillion, it's $12 trillion plus interest. They sell us bonds for 20 years, let's say, and when we do that, they set up a contract and they charge interest for the borrowing of the money. All bankers do that. When you go to buy your car, they want interest payments on the loan they make you, so you pay back the principal plus interest. And I don't know how much the interest is on $12 trillion, but it's going to be at least another $12 or $14 trillion by the time we get it paid off, if not more. So I'm telling you, that's where we are. And notice, no one seems to care. It's just, well, we do it, trillions don't mean anything. Yes, they do mean something. We have to pay them back plus interest. That's the problem.
Do you think that this the world financial elite, including like the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, how much of a role are they playing in globalization and New World Order and taking our civil rights and liberties away from us?
Well, they're certainly directly involved, but understand this: they're very lower layer. They take the abuse. We're supposed to know about the Rockefellers and the Rothschilds, but we're not supposed to know about the layers above them. And one of those layers above them is the Masonic Lodge. And in the first 30 years of my research, no one had opened up the door into the Masonic Lodge until I started it in 1985 on my lecture tour, and I was pleased to do so. It was very preliminary, but we started the discussion, and now a lot of people are writing books about the Masons, the Knights Templars, and the Shriners and everything else, and that's very, very healthy for America. But I want you to know, even that's still not the top layer. There's layers above the Masons, but as I said before, the reason I use the Masons is because they put it in writing. You can read their plans for America. It's very simple. You just do the research and find it, and that's what I've done. I've saved you the trouble of reading all the books that I've done. You can read my third book's called Masonry, Conspiracy Against Christianity, and I prove that Masons take a vow to destroy Christianity, and then I tell you why. Why do they want to do that? Why replace Christianity with the New World Order? And it's all detailed in my book, Masonry, Conspiracy Against Christianity, my third book.
Go ahead and give me a little example of why they might be trying to replace Christianity.
Well, it's very simple. I'll make it as brief as I can. And you're going to say this is impossible,
Okay.
but I'm telling you, this is what they say. I'll use the Masons. The Masons believe that the Book of Genesis in the Bible is correct. That there was a Garden of Eden, there was a man and a woman there, and that they were tempted by the devil, Satan called Satan in the Bible, and they were tempted with this. God said to man, and by the way, this, even though it's religious, it's out of the Bible, this is what they believe in this conspiracy. So you can say, separate church and state? No. They're the ones that put it in writing as to what they believe in, and so I'm just quoting what they say. So they say that the Bible says that God said to Adam and Eve that you are not to decide what's right and wrong. I will teach you what's right and wrong, and when I do, you will be happy. Why? Because he's going to teach us not to murder. And when we are taught not to murder, you can go out at 3 o'clock in the morning for a walk in the park. Nowadays, you can't because we're scared to death you're going to get mugged or shot or raped or whatever it is. And why is that? Because we believe the opposite position, and that's what we're being taught, that the devil offered man should decide for himself in all things. We don't need God, we don't need religion, we need man's mind to decide for himself. If you want to rape at 3 o'clock in the morning, go out and do it. There's no one can object, no one can resist. You say it's impossible. Look around you, America. It's happening right in front of your eyes. This is why young people and others are out shooting. I live in Tucson, Arizona, and I'm sure it's the case probably across the country. We have drive-by shootings. Young high school students in either the Blood or the Crips drive by and shoot a person who's out of their territory for no reason. Why do they do that? Because they're taught that whatever that you wish to do is permissible, just do it. If this guy's in your territory, kill him. Well, we were taught by God, thou shalt not murder. And that's the way that this young person who can walk the streets, no matter where in the city of Tucson he wants to go, he's free to do so. Not anymore, because we have Crips or Bloods or others who decide that they're in their territory and they're out of place and they can just kill them. And that's where we are today. Look around you. This is the problem. This is what the Masons believe. Now, let's go back. Who gave us all this morality? Why is it worldwide man separates men and women, and they get married, and they have children, and they stay together, and we have a, quote, family? Notice that. That's worldwide. We don't have to do that. we could be free to marry anyone we want to, or not get married, or have communes. You know, we have everybody having sex with everybody else. We're free to do that. We have been given free choice. So here's what they say. This is the call of the Masons. The Masons say God is a tyrant because he's telling us what to do. Now, wait a minute. They say, God gave us free choice, but then he said, don't exercise free choice. I will teach you not to do certain things. And when I do that, you're going to be free. As I said, you can walk out at 3 o'clock in the morning into a park and not fear getting raped or murdered or pillaged. But now we can't, because we are being taught that God is a tyrant. We have to separate church and government, church and state, which is a lie. We'll talk about that in a minute. So that's why when you go now, you can't go to the park at 3 o'clock in the morning or walk your dog, because you might get raped or murdered, because someone believes that they're free to decide for themselves what's right and wrong. This is the lie. They want to create a society where each man believes whatever he wants to do is right and can do it. And you say that's impossible. I'm telling you, it's in their own literature. I found it and proved it, documented it, so you can know this is where we're going. Look around you, America. It's happening right now. People are being encouraged to do what they want to do in their own views, and it's called, in high schools and colleges, it's called situation ethics. Our young people are being taught this. We are not separating church and state, because situation ethics is part of America's religion called humanism. Go on the internet, find the Humanist Association, and you'll find it a religion. It's sanctioned by the state. It teaches there are no moral absolutes, and it's approved by the state and being taught in our schools today as situation ethics.
How many of our
basic?
Sir?
Yeah, go ahead.
How many signers of the Declaration of Independence were Freemasons? Wasn't it like 20 or 30?
Well,
something.
Well, let's say it this way. Let's start with this. The Revolution was a very bloody one, of course, and buildings were blown up. And the Masons claim they don't know for sure exactly, because many of the lodges were destroyed during the American Revolution, which is quite possible. I've been on the History Channel twice discussing the Masons and the founding of this nation. And the Masons tell us they have one of their 33rd degree Masons, were the top Masons in the nation, says that there's 8 of the 59 signers of the Declaration. There's 56. They say that there's only 8 or 9. Now, I don't know, so I'll take that's the best we can do. They don't know because they can't find the records. But they have put in writing that 23 of the 39 men who signed the Constitution were Masons. 23 would be therefore a majority. So if they wanted whatever they wanted, they had the power to do so, because the Masons were told to create this nation, write the Constitution, and they've done so.
For what purpose would our founding fathers create this secret destiny for America?
Well, we're going someplace. They told us where it is on the back of our dollar bill. It's called the New World Order. It's not new. It is a world order. It's not only the United States going to get this. The entire world's going to get this, where each man will be free to decide for himself what's right and wrong. And I mean, if you want to live in a state of tyranny, think about that. You cannot even go to the grocery store at 10 o'clock in the morning, because people will be free to steal your groceries, steal from you, take your money, beat you on the head, kill you, whatever they want to do. This is madness. No, it's not. It's what these people want. It's in their own writings. I found it.
Just to the listeners out there, just to the listeners out there, you can go ahead and call in if you want. I'm accepting phone calls, but another question, sir, is that something that has always puzzled me is that Britain was our enemy during the Revolutionary War, so it seems, and they are our biggest ally today. So since they couldn't beat us physically during the Revolutionary War, do you think that there could still be a war going on today between us, like maybe a psychological war?
No, it's bigger than that. This thing, please understand, this conspiracy already controls the world. How do I know that? Listen, America, Bill Clinton told us that statement is true on the night of July the 16th, 1992. Bill Clinton was at the Democratic Convention accepting the nomination for president of the Democratic Party. As you know, of course, he was elected later in November that year. But this is when he was on nationwide TV explaining to us what got him into politics, and he was admitting verbally with his own mouth. You can read it. You can see the clip if you find it. I can let you know where to find it. He said there is a conspiracy. It already controls the economies of the world. It also, listen to this, America, it controls both political parties equally. Bill Clinton told us this with his own mouth. You can read it, you can hear it, you can watch him say it. Now, not only do they control both parties equally, they financed both sides of World War II. How do I know that? Bill Clinton told us. He told us that he was a supporter of this conspiracy and that it made him president of the United States. Do you understand? Bill Clinton is not a conspiracy theorist. He's a conspiracy realist. He told us this with his own mouth. I found it. I documented. I've got a booklet out called Clinton's Conspiracy. I got a DVD to show you what he said, how it already controls both parties. Now let's go back to Obama and McCain. John McCain, according to Bill Clinton, John McCain and Barack Obama were both controlled by the same people. Now let me tell you how John McCain intentionally lost the election. He did so because the conspiracy wanted Barack Obama in office. So John McCain ran, but he made one fatal mistake at the very beginning. Let's go back very simply. John McCain's been a senator for 20-some years, was in the Congress for years before that, I don't know, quite 30-some years, I don't know what the total is. But he was a very experienced senator and legislator, etc. Barack Obama was elected a year or so before the campaign as a senator. That's the only experience he's ever had. He was a state legislator for a while, I guess a year or two. Now, here's the way that I would have run the campaign if I was John McCain. I would have said, ladies and gentlemen, Americans, this is a mighty ship of state, and we need to have a captain who knows how to steer this incredible boat, because if we don't, we're going to end up on the rocks. Look at my opponent. He's had 1 year experience. He's very naive, very simple. He hasn't had the experience that I've had. I wouldn't quite say it that way because this is just a condensed form. But let the people know that you've got experience and Barack Obama doesn't. Now, John McCain is in his 70s. If he was elected, he'd be the oldest president ever elected by the United States. John McCain should have used that as an argument to win the election, because the American people don't want this novice. But John McCain nominated Sarah Palin, who had less experience in government than even Barack Obama. Now wait a minute. Here the American people are being asked to vote for a man who's in his 70s already. Forgive me, this is not very pleasant, but you know, people in their 70s and 60s and 40s, people get heart attacks. But it's more likely that John McCain quite possibly might not survive a heart attack, let's say, or a stroke or something. So Sarah Palin could become president of the United States with no experience. Wait a minute. He lost the major issue in his campaign by nominating Sarah Palin. He did that on purpose. He was told to lose the election. He did. We have two more precedents of that in the past. Back in 80-something, I forgot when it was, Walter Mondale ran against Ronald Reagan. And the night of the Democratic National Convention in 1982, Walter Mondale told the American people on live national television, I'm going to raise your taxes. That is not the thing to do, Walter Mondale. Now, why did he do that? There's an unwritten rule in politics. Never, never, never promise a tax increase. Never. You can increase benefits. You can get more programs going. You can do whatever you want to. That rule works all the way down from dog catcher or the lowest level in the city all the way up to president. Never promise a tax increase. Walter Mondale just did that on national television. The largest audience he would have ever, he promised a tax increase. That's not very bright. He lost the election. After that night was over, the election was over. Reagan was going to win. George Bush, the senior, did it as well. George Bush in 1990, I think it was, came up with a very catchy little phrase. Read my lips, no new taxes. Oh, that's very nice, very catchy. The comics made fun of it. Everybody made it fun. It was in the newspapers and the television, and people saying it and making fun out of it. Read my lips, no new asparagus shoots or whatever it was. And they were using it to make it popular. And then he raised taxes. Why? Well, I understand. He just promised us he wouldn't, and yet he did. That's the way that George Bush the father intentionally lost the election. He did so, just like Walter Mondale. And in my video, Clinton Conspiracy, I talk about this and show you the evidence of it. I'm not making this up. This is exact. I quote their actual words. Now, wait a minute. That's not the way to win an election. You don't want to lose an election. Yes, you do, if Bill Clinton is right, and he is right, that both political parties are controlled by the same people. Now, who are those people? It doesn't matter who they are. All we know is that they're controlled by the same people. We can generalize and say it's the CFR or the Trial Commission or maybe others, bankers, but that's fine. But it doesn't matter. We now know that no matter who we elect, they are satisfied. They select two candidates, have them run against each other, and we pick one and think we, the people, have done this hogwash. They told us, here's your choice, A and B, and it doesn't matter who you elect, we're happy with him. That's where we are. That's how bad it is.
Just to let you know that some of our members or some of our listeners are really fascinated by your research and just want to thank you for all the hard work that you've done. And
well,
another question is, whenever
if I
Bush
Senior, Mike, just a second. Let's go back to what you just said. Please understand
yes,
what I'm saying. If you personally, the people that are listening or to me right now, if you don't get involved personally, I mean, you've got to educate yourself and then educate others. If we don't do that, our future is set, and we're not going to like it. It's scary. I know it's scary. People don't want to know what it is. I'm telling you, it's time to get busy. Educate yourself, study, and then teach others. All of us are teachers in the world's largest university. What does that mean?
yes,
Every person in this nation is our student body. Every building in America is our campus. If you're in a gas station and you can talk to someone about education and what's happening in a country, that means you're in a teaching position with that person in the gas station. That's the building. You have got to become a teacher. All of us are teachers. I've got the materials that you can use. Go to my website. They're available. They're reasonably priced. Use them. Educate yourself and then educate others. And I didn't mean to digress, but that's where we are. All of us have got to do this, not just me.
Back to Bush Senior. Whenever in 1990 or 91, I think it was 91 when he announced the New World Order. Was it 97?
Yes. 1990.
It was September 11th of 1990.
Yes.
Is that true? Is there any connection? Is there any connection between?
He said.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I think there was a connection because he said that the September 11th, 1990 was the day that the New World Order would be started with the war in Iraq when we went in there. Well, here's the point. This New World Order was dedicated. Our nation was committed to it in 1787 with 1782, with the creation of the seal of the United States. Henry Kissinger, former Secretary of State under Richard Nixon and his administration, has said something like this: America is uniquely endowed to lead the world to the New World Order. What does that mean? We were created with that in mind. It is America's secret destiny. Let me tell you this to you and your listeners. Go to my website, and I'm working on getting it on the internet, but right now you can get a copy of it if you want a copy of America's Secret Destiny. It's 4 hours long with something like 3,000 slides in it. You need to watch that. All of us need to, because it tells you where we're going. What is America's secret destiny? Why did our founding fathers betray us? Oh, I don't believe that, Ralph. Wait a minute. The question should be, why do you say that, Ralph? That's contrary to everything else we've ever learned. It is, and that's exactly why I have to say it, because we don't believe it. But it's true. Wait till you see where we're going as a nation. This nation is going someplace. We have a secret destiny. America's Secret Destiny on my website.
And I have some of those, actually I have your videos on the front page of Cryptic Knowledge Radio, and I urge all the listeners out there to check it out. It's called America's Secret Destiny by Ralph Epperson, and I've only watched about an hour and a half so far, and I think it's about, what, 4 hours, sir?
Well, yeah, let's take it step by step. The one that's on the internet right now is 3 hours long. It was the first edition.
Okay.
I've upgraded it now to 4. You can watch it free. It's available to you, but I would urge you to get the fourth hour, because the fourth hour adds additional material to show you. It's even worse than what you learned in the 3 hour. So you can go to Google Video, watch America's Secret Destiny, and it'll tell you how to get in touch with me and get the 4 hour video. I'm going to put the 4 hour in place of the 3 hour pretty soon. I'm working on that right now.
Back to history. Do you think that history? This is coming. A lot of these questions to the listeners. A lot of these questions actually come in directly from his book and from his DVDs. So here's one that I saw when I was watching your DVD about you was mentioning that history needs to be revised. Explain about that a little bit.
Well, let's use the Civil War. And that's, by the way, my fourth book is called Jesse James, United States Senator. The great Jesse James, the outlaw, became a major player in our past. And between 1882, when he allegedly died, and 1951, when he really died, Jesse James became a United States Senator, was a major figure, one of the 10 wealthiest men in the world, one of the 10 men who ruled America. Jesse James, the famous outlaw. Now that means we need to revise. He said so himself as he was explaining when he surfaced in 1948. He said that America doesn't have the history correct. Someday someone will step forward and set the record straight, and that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to set the record straight. My video called Jesse James, United States, Jesse James lived to be 103. If you want to know about American history, that's a very great little way to watch it. It's also on my DVD in my catalog and website. You can go there and get a copy. It's only $10 plus $2 for postage. You can watch it and then tell your friends, have some friends come over and give me an afternoon and watch that, and you'll learn that history needs to be revised. The Civil War happened, but not for the reasons we were told. World War II happened, but not for the reasons we were told. The Vietnamese War happened, but not for the reason we were told, etc. The crash in 1929 happened, there's no question about it, but it didn't happen for the reasons we've been told. We're being lied to. Our founding fathers knew that. Our historians from then forward until today know it as well. I say, I'm a graduate of the University of Arizona, and once in a while I get a phone call from someone saying, Mr. Epperson, please donate to a scholarship fund or something. And I say to the young man or person, woman, whoever it is, I say, let me tell you this. I will not give that university $1 of my money. Why? Because the university is intentionally lying to its students, and I'm not going to support that. Well, why would they lie? That's why you have to find out. I've done my homework for 40 years since then to prove that statement's true. They're giving us what I call the accidental view of history. Things just happen. No one knows why. Wars and depressions and revolutions just happen. People spontaneously uprise to overthrow the government, whatever it is. Hogwash. It's not true, and we're being lied to.
I have a, it's a little off topic, but maybe it's not. Have you heard about, of course you probably heard about the 2012 Mayan calendar?
Yes.
Do you think that 2012 could, you said it could have any significance with the New World Order, a possible end date?
Well, there are people claiming that. There was an article in our paper, I don't know much about this, but there was an article in our newspaper by a Mayan expert who said that what that means is at the end of a cycle, and that in the year 2012, it starts over again. The cycle is maybe 1,000 years longer, 1,200 or 900, wherever it is. So it's nothing new. It's just it happens in the past. It's going to happen again, and I believe that's true. In other words, it's not the end of this. It's the end of the cycle, but it's the beginning of a new cycle, and the new cycle means we're still going to exist.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So I think, and we're being scared by that. And that's people are promoting it and selling it, and I think it's bogus.
Exactly. I tell my listeners that at my site that, and I tell people, just people that I meet on the street, that I don't think that's nothing to fear, because a lot of these power-hungry people love for us to be in fear, because the more we're in fear, the easier it is for them to have control over us.
That's correct.
But
that's exactly right.
But what do you believe is our major concern for the near and distant future?
Well, I'm saying that we're going to get to America's secret destiny unless we prevent it. Now, please understand, I want to make this abundantly clear. I have never, in 40 years of research and testimony, documentaries I've made, video appearances, lectures, seminars, never once have I ever advocated violence. Never. I'm saying the only answer of a moral people is education. As I pointed out, every one of us is a teacher in the largest university in the world. Every one of us has got to educate ourselves and educate others if we're going to save this nation from the New World Order, our secret destiny. That means we've got to get busy. We got to learn and then try to get others educated, find ways to get them educated.
For the next election, do you think that we might possibly get a female president?
Oh, it's quite likely. Sarah Palin might be selected to do that. I don't know. Maybe Hillary's going to be president. I don't know. I'm saying this. Understand this. No matter who's elected, I want you to understand, they will control that person. Understand. Bill Clinton told us that, and it's demonstrably accurate. We can know that he's telling the truth. Since at least 1920, they have controlled both the Democrat and Republican party. They control it. They get their people nominated, and then we have a choice. Either we pick candidate A or candidate B, but it doesn't matter. If we pick A or B, they control both, and therefore it's like a wrestling match. I use this as an analogy. We go to the wrestling match, and we watch the bad guy and the good guy wrestle, and the good guy always wins, or sometimes he loses, but that's all predetermined. The two guys get together before the match. There's a matchmaker who says, okay, now listen, here's what we're going to do. You've got 12 minutes. A, you're going to do this and that, but B, you're going to win. But when we go to Phoenix next week, B, you're going to lose, and A, or whatever, the opposite is true. It's all prearranged. And when we go, we scream and shout and call these guys bad names and good names and tell them they're dirty, everything, but it's all prearranged. And no matter who, after the match is over, notice the two wrestlers go out for a beer together. They're best of friends. But boy, during the match, they were gouging each other, kicking and fighting and punching them in the eyes and everything else. It's all fake. But we, the people, believe it's real, and that's just like politics. We believe the elections are real. They're rigged.
About this Iran situation, well, what do you think is going to happen with that? Because, you know,
Well,
all you see
I
in the
can't
news
say
is
it.
Iran.
Yep. Let me say this. Iran will never get a nuclear weapon. Never. I
That's
don't
what I
care
believe.
what our government tells us. Why? Please hear me out. This will take a couple of minutes.
Okay.
On my
You have
channel, my
6
website,
minutes.
okay, I have a video, a DVD called "Only the U.S. Has Nukes." Hear me. Listen to me. I'm trying to tell you, no nation in the world other than the United States has nuclear weapons. None. Not one. And no other nation will ever get nuclear weapons. Why? Because it's controlled by a conspiracy that controls America and the other nations as well. So this threat of Iran getting a nuclear weapon that's all that it is, a threat. They will never get one. Now, they could announce, in fact, they might even explode one or something, but I'm telling you, they don't have them. They won't get them. They're not going to build them. They're not going to fire them. There will be no nuclear war unless America gives them to the enemy to fire at us. Trust me, it's 4 hours long. Go there and watch it yourself and tell me where I'm wrong. It's 4 hours of documented evidence. There are no nukes. Iran will never get a nuke. North Korea doesn't have them. Israel doesn't have them. Russia, Red China, you name it. They don't have them. It's a lie, and it's a big scam. And the answer is why? Threat. The threat of the nuclear war is what they're using for us to keep building war machines and missiles and rockets and radars and anti-missiles and anti-nuclear weapons and everything else. It's a threat to make us keep paying that. Why? Because government needs to borrow money from the international bankers at interest. And wars and threats like this are very expensive. America
The same thing.
only has...
It's the same thing with Iraq, because before Iraq, all you heard in the news was Iraq has weapons of mass destruction, Iraq has nukes, America could end up into a mushroom cloud. They're putting fear into us, so we support them in committing a wrongful act and invading another country. And when we went over there, there was no nukes.
Yes, isn't that interesting? And by the way, little Ralphie Epperson, all the time that's going on, was doing everything I could to explain there will be no weapons of mass destruction. They don't have them, and they're not going to get them. I'm telling you, watch it for 4 hours and show me where I'm wrong. You can't do it. Only the U.S. has nukes.
I just don't understand that people should be. I think people are starting to wake up, though, because before Iraq War, everybody. Well, we get in fear mode, and that's why I believe we went into Iraq, because everybody would support our government in invading Iraq because we believed they had nuclear weapons. And
let me tell you this: there is no way to win a guerrilla army, a guerrilla war, because the guerrilla trains the young people to do it as well, and that's what this is all about. The war on terror was the reason we went into Iraq. And the war on terror is you and I. It's a war against the American people. We're giving up our freedoms right and left with all of these new intrusions. I'm telling you, it's all by design. Let me give you the best example. We've never had anyone carry weapons on board an airplane in their shorts until we did, a couple of months ago. And suddenly, just by coincidence, the company announces, hey, wait a minute, I've got this scan device that can tell you whether or not you're carrying weapons or the explosives in their shorts. And we're going to sell them. And already airliners, airports are starting to buy just by coincidence. I'm telling you, if I was the manufacturer of that product, I would hire someone to do exactly what he did. Some dummy that'd be willing to do it and blow up himself. I don't think there were any explosives in his shorts because he might have succeeded. But the thought was, suddenly now we've got a solution. Now the airports are going to have to buy these scan machines and put them in place, and they're going to cost millions of dollars a piece, and that's what it's all about. It's a scam, a ruse, a trick, and a fraud. Please go to my website, ralph-epperson.com, do some browsing, do some reading, get in touch, let's talk.
And that is a wonderful way to wrap things up here, because we have 1 minute remaining here at Cryptic Knowledge Radio. And I just want to thank you for coming on to the show, Mr. Ralph, and I sure do appreciate it. And I would like for you to be a regular guest here every now and then, if it's okay to you, sir.
Mike, I'd be happy to do that anytime I can help. I'm a teacher. It's like I'm urging everyone else to become a teacher. We need to educate ourselves and others. Ralph-Epperson.com. RALPH-Epperson with 2 P's, Epperson.com. Ralph-Epperson.com. Go there, browse, call me. My number's there. My address is there. My name is Ralph Epperson. That's not a pen name, a stage name, a ghostwriter. I'm the real Ralph Epperson. Get in touch. Let's talk, and let's continue educating.
All right. Thank you, sir. And I'll stay